Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and my lovely NBs. We are here today with another Tooth and Tail Open Division matchup, as we get two of the top players within this division, Legomann and Studios, to go ahead and go against each other one-on-one. I'm very excited to see how this goes, so let's go ahead and dive right on in. So, here out in the west, we have Studios rocking the Civilized, while Legomann out in the east rocking the KSR. So, looking at both of their respective compositions, this is actually almost a little bit of a interesting map here, as Studios is going to go ahead and go for the 3 tier 1 with the Squirrel, Pigeon, and Crow composition, as well as having Snake and Cam as his tier 2, along with the Boar with no defensive units. Meanwhile, Legomann is going for something that is a little bit more his style, as he goes ahead and gets into the Squirrel as his solo tier 1, along with the Pigeon, as well as with Skunk and Cam and Snake with the Fox variant. Very pokey type of style there for Legomann, while Umbrella Studios, I know he's been very opinionated about the Crow, so it's interesting that he chose this as his other tier 1 to pair with the Squirrels. But that's how we're going to get into it. So, we'll see how both these players are pretty much starting off in the early going, just really getting into their early goings of this army. So as they're doing that, oh, actually, we do see that Studios decides to sell off his Squirrel to go ahead and buy his tier 2 and then get into Squirrel. So you could probably say that when it comes to the flow of the game, it's pretty much interesting, because now Legamann's going to try and go for a forward base to go for an early attack because of the fact that Studios decided to go ahead and sell off. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes ahead to try and take something here, as he will have the Squirrel advantage for at least a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if that Warren does end up going down if he's not too careful, and it will go down. And now we're going to go ahead and get into taking out the tier 2. Very good advantage there for Legomann, but the Cam is now coming out to try and do a quick cleanup. But Legomann is still going to try and get the onslaught, because he knows that that thing can easily go down. So Studios is forced to sell, and now we're going to have the Squirrels to finally get off as a farm goes down too. So a lot of it, huge advantage there for Legomann, being able to not only force Umbrella Studios to sell half of what that Warren was worth too, but also having to decide to take out a Warren and take out a farm. So Legomann in a huge lead right now, as Legomann is not going to be done as he goes for another attack, and the pig's going to go down once again, and that's going to be a tap on Studios, and Legomann will take game number 1. So really huge advantage there for Legomann, just really go ahead and punishing Studios for going tier 2 so early, especially with the fact that there was no need for him to do that, with Legomann just continuing to build up his tier 1 to make that advantage. So really good first match there for Legomann, really just making Studios kind of have to flounder around trying to find something, because that was just kind of how the game went. So really good game there for Lego. So let's go ahead and dive into game number 2. So in the east side, we do have Studios once again rocking the yellow, and over in the southwest, we do have Legomann rocking the green. So looking back into the compositions, we do see that Studios has dropped the Crow this time for the moles. So that's going to be the one change, while Legomann will be remaining the same. So just a slight change of composition for Studios, because I know that like Crow is very mixed. Everyone's a little bit mixed opinion on Crows, to say the least. There's not really one of the strongest units so far in the test patch, but we'll have to wait and see how these go between these two players. Now, I wouldn't be surprised here that Studios is going to probably just kind of build up his tier 1 a little bit before diving into tier 2 unlike last game, but Legomann actually decided to go ahead and get into an expansion before queuing up his final farm, which is a very interesting one here. So Studios is going to see it, and he's probably going to go ahead and start building up his warrens early. Maybe to look for some early punishment, but I don't think it'll be there in time, as the squirrel warren will go down there for Legomann. But by the time that these squirrels come out and he tries to charge in, I would imagine a squirrel or two would be popping out before Studios would be able to get his units to come over and try and punish this expansion. But we'll have to wait and see. But Studio is actually going to go for tier 2 as he goes ahead and sells the Squirrel Whirlwind and buys 3 more. So he's going to go ahead and let Legomann farm on up. And instead just going to go for some massive tech here to possibly try and go for the punishment in the long game. So right now, Legomann does respond in turn, getting his own 2 warrens and a skunk as well as a pigeon. So he's gonna go really heavy on the matching the tier 1, as well with the dap of pigeon to probably get some healing units in the early going. So right now, I think that Studios is actually gonna go ahead and match this so far, but the only difference between the two is the tier 2 choices. Legomann going with the skunk. Meanwhile, Studio is going to go ahead and go with the cams, more destructive. And he's also going to add moles into the mix too. So it's going to be very interesting how this plays out, as he's going to have both of his cams are going to be ready to go. And we're still waiting on the second skunk to come in. And now the battle will start and commencing. And here comes the cam coming in to put in some work. And we're seeing Legomann having forced to sell at this point. We do see 1 farm goes down for Lego. Both skunks are now out, and I think that might be it, as Legomann is finally be able to fend off Studio's attack. And it looks like Legomann has lost quite a bit, but he is letting his units kind of go in a little bit too close. He's actually thinking of a counterattack here. He is, as he's going to go ahead and bring the skunks into play, but the cams are also out as well. I don't know if this is a good idea, as one skunk does go down. And here comes the second one. The pigeons are doing as much as they can to try and get him to heal. So he will be able to keep the 1 skunk alive, but I would have to say that that battle probably went better for Studios. Even though, yeah, he did lost the majority of tier 1 in that match, taking out that 1 skunk is pretty huge. And it does force Legomann to probably have to fully retreat. And looking at the economy right now, yeah, technically the economies are still matched, but you would have to say that Studios is doing pretty well of trying to keep the trying to keep the income kind of as even though the fact that Legomann does have a bit of an advantage, having him lose a couple of those farms really did a good number on him, as now Studios is starting to farm up big time, getting into 3 of his own. Meanwhile, Legomann is just trying to go ahead and try and get his second one up, as we are getting close to the 5-minute mark. Both sides are just trying their best to, you know, keep their farm numbers up as much as possible. And while Legomann does have the income advantage by quite a bit, that's going to get Studios is going to catch up because of the onslaught on that first attack that went really well for him. Meanwhile, Legomann is just trying to find some good decence, as he does put in the snakes. So I imagine that the snakes are going to come into play of trying to take out a couple of pigs. I know the snakes got a little bit of a rework done, so I know it won't take 1 tag to take out a pig. It'll take 2. So I'm sure that Legomann is going to have to like wait a little bit before even getting a chance to go ahead and take a couple of pigs in, or take the risk here, because Studios does have some snakes coming down as well, as he got 2 sets of cams and 2 sets of snakes on the way. So right now, when it comes to the army composition, I would imagine that, yeah, Studios does have the lead at this point. And I do think that if the battle were to commence right now, I would have to give the edge to Studios. Because yes, Legomann has a superior squirrel numbers, though he does sell the squirrel and go into some falcons, which I can't really blame him for. Need another batch of skunks. So I think the battle is a little bit more even now, but it's gonna be interesting how this plays out at the end of the day. Because now Studios has fully farmed up. Meanwhile, while Legomann is farming up fully as well, he got all his 8 farms ready to go. We do see that Studios is going to try and go in for this attack as he puts in a couple of moles in a very forward position. I think he's ready to go ahead and try and dive on in right before the skunks. With the number of snakes that Studios has, it's going to be interesting how much this plays out, as we see that a lot of things are starting to go down for Legomann. We're seeing a couple of warrens go down. And it looks like the skunk number might be a bit too much for Studios, as all the farms are starting to follow out, and he does go ahead and try to retreat. So great opportunity for Legomann, and he has all his skunks already still on the ready. He's still got a handful of squirrels left. He can't go for this counterattack. I think this could be a very dangerous start for Studios, as he still has none of his tier 2 ready to go as the battle will start to commence. And he has really no points but to try and stop this onslaught, but it might be too much, though there's only one snake and a few skunks left, so he could have an opportunity to try and stop this, but right now so many things are going down as Studios is just struggling to try to find a way to defend off these players, and Legomann is finally deciding to retreat, and that has to be a huge advantage there for Legomann. As we go ahead and look at the chart here, like literally the income here is just really down the toilet there for Studios. Really not a good spot for him, as he is desperately trying to find some way to get back into this thing. Selling quite a bit as the pigeons trying to do some work here, try to get as much healing done as possible. Meanwhile, Legomann, he's going to go ahead and start trying to drain out Studios. He does get another campfire just in case, just to continue on this onslaught. I think after this, all Studios has is just his snakes and cams, and while that could be an advantage over to him, depending on how this goes, he might have to go ahead and try and get into this battle now, as he's now going to go ahead and try and get these cams to do this work. He does lose one, he's going to lose that other one, and that might be it for him, as everything is pretty much down and out except for his pigeons, and Studios will be going ahead and going out, as Legomann will take game number 2. So yeah, that counterattack for Legomann really coming into play there for that matchup, and it really kind of goes to show how that economy lead that happened throughout it was just really too much there for Studios. So really good micro there for Lego, and now he has a chance to go ahead and take this all in a sweep as we head over into match point. So will Studios be able to try and get the reverse sweep going, as he is in the southwest position, while Legomann looking to try and wrap this up right now, as he is going to be in the northeast position. So now Studios did change up, switching up the moles with the lizards, going to get some squizzard action, while Legomann still again not gonna do any changes to his composition, because you know, why change what's working so far? That's just kind of how it is. So now diving into this, we are gonna go ahead and see how both of these players are gonna play out. We're probably gonna get the gentleman's 8 between the two of them, as we go ahead and look into the map and see how things are going. You can see that Studios does have a really easy number 2, kind of a pocket mill in this situation. Meanwhile, Legomann does have a more, I guess, more open mill. Is more prone to probably get abused if he goes for this expansion, but at the same time, this map is pretty big, so I can't imagine any kind of like shenanigans happening here. But they are kind of split from these two, as Legomann is going to go ahead and get into his expansion very early on, as well as getting 2 Squirrel Warrens as well. But meanwhile, like this one's going to be possibly a third one for Legomann, and maybe this one as well. I know this one's definitely a really good one, because I don't think people that... If Legomann does scalp this, I don't think studios would scalp that, to be honest, because it's so far out, and considering the size of the map in its entirety, I can't imagine it being really much use here. And studios is kind of a little bit of a bubble, more so when it comes to these expansions, because as he does get a second one, putting in 2 more here, and Legomann is going to go ahead and try and stay ahead of the eco game. But like this one is going to be like darn near impossible to get, in all honesty, because you literally have to go all the way around to get to that one. But this one's probably easy to get, but it's pretty much going to be one of those like trying to move a lot forward and stuff. I think this is a pretty good owl map, to be honest with you. Like I wouldn't mind seeing owl here if it's being used, but of course neither of them chose that, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But we do see that Studios is going to bring out some lizards as well, trying to go for a little bit of a squizzard game. Actually, no, he decided to sell the lizard and go into snakes here. So he's going to get into his tier 2 pretty early going. Meanwhile, Legomann going to go into Falcon as the opener. So, of course, Studios is going to go and see this. Right now, so far in this series, we haven't seen any tier 3 pop out for either side. So I would be interested to see if they're going to, if either one of them are going to put it in. And of course, as I was saying that, we do see that Studios has decided to go ahead and put in his board, and Legomann's going to spot it, and I'm sure he's going to turn it into him by putting in his fox as an expansion, and he will do that. Selling off, oh no, he actually sells the fox here. Probably waiting until Studios gets to go ahead and get this map going, but I do feel like that he is fully prepared. Let's go ahead and get into it, as Studios is going to go ahead and get more snakes here, as well as getting into cams too. And now the board's going to get bought and is going to be on the way. Meanwhile, the fox is only halfway finished in the Warren, so Legomann, so Studios is going to see that tier 3 is done, and it is going to be a fox. Meanwhile, Legomann is going to go ahead and get into a 4th expansion, so he's really going big here on trying to get as many meals as possible, probably trying to prevent any kind of base race shenanigans. But now, all this map control Lego has is really putting Studios kind of in a little bit of a bind here, but I would imagine that once the board comes out, he's going to immediately go ahead and get the charge, just in case. But we'll see how things dive into, as we do see that Legomann's getting a lot of, wait, is this pigeons? Yeah, this is pigeons. There's a lot of pigeons here from Legomann. I don't know why he has so many, but we do see that the board's going to come into play here. That mill is going to go down. And now we're seeing that Studios is going to go ahead and retreat. Legomann's going to go ahead and buy that mill once again. And now we're going to see if how much these skunks are going to hold right now. The fox is now out, so we are going to see quite a bit of poking here. But right now, it might not be much, because, again, Studios is just going right now, just diving into this whole entire Warren. He's not going to go ahead and take out quite a bit of farms, trying to focus on a lot of the Warren, trying to make sure to minimize as much of the army as possible. The board is going to end up going down, and Studios going to take out the massive mill here, and that might be game there for Legomann. As well, actually, no, he still has quite a few farms here, as he does have the farm right there, so he's not going to give up quite yet. But that was a pretty big blow there, as now the fox is going to be a gremlin and do a lot of the work. And now the fox is going to get targeted a little bit, but here comes some of the 300s, but the fox really low, so very good there for the pigeons to be there at this juncture. So Legoman desperately had to go all the way back. I don't know if Studios is aware of the fact that, oh, well, if he didn't know then, he's gonna know now, because he does see it, and he's probably gonna go ahead and get his cams to do the work. As right now, the Fox, once again, trying to get as much of these things done as possible, but the Fox is going to end up going down because of it, and Lego has no choice but to tap because of it. So, Studios will be going on the board as he does take game number 3, avoiding the loss. Let's go ahead and dive into game number 4. So, will Studios be able to take it to game 5 as he's up north? Meanwhile, Legoman down south is looking to probably close it before he's end up getting into a game 5 scenario. Now, we do see a massive change up here for both players deciding to swap their tier 3. Studios dropping the lizards for the mole once again while swapping the boar with the badger. Meanwhile, over for Legoman, he decides to go ahead and take out the fox and include a wolf in this scenario, and that'll be all the changes he's going to make for his composition. So, right now, Legoman is somebody who really likes using the wolf here to try to beef up his army. He does have a very DPS heavy type of comp, with the skunk and the falcon kind of being the primary use for it. He does have the snakes and skunk as well to kind of really start slowly draining the enemy front lines, especially if Studios decide to dive into the mass tier 1. But it looks like that we're going to get the gentleman's 8 between the two. As I said, Studio really hasn't used moles that much in this series, and we'll see if tier 3 ends up being the answer here as both players get into their expansions respectively. Both of them having pretty easy expansions to grab here. Like I said, Studios can easily get one from the higher ground. Could easily get this one as well as his 3rd. Meanwhile, for Legoman, he's going to kind of inch closer here. But this one is basically going to be canceled out because of the decisions the Studios decided to get for this more forward base. So, at this point, Legoman's kind of stuck with just these two. He could get this one right here, though. So, this could be where he could get his 3rd base from, especially with the fact that there's water here, and Studios doesn't really have any amphibious units, so it'll be a pretty big hassle to go after this one unless it's like an all-out battle in the water. But so far so good. Legoman floating a little bit here in the early goings. Decided to go ahead and dive into skunks as his tier 2. Meanwhile, Legoman just continued building up tier 1 for the most part, as he's going to go ahead and go up to 15 squirrels compared to the 9 squirrels that Legoman's going to be dropping. But the number doesn't really matter too much, as the skunks are going to come into play here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Studios decides to say bump it. We'll just go ahead and throw in a tier 2 somewhere. And it's looking like that he's gonna float a little bit just to see what Legoman's planning on doing here. And it looks like he is gonna go ahead and sell a tier 1 and get 2 warrens, get a lot of skunks in the early goings, as he is trying to prevent any kind of battle, as we are gonna see some poking here from Legoman as the skunk comes into play. So that farm is going to go down. We are seeing that Studios is going to go ahead and slowly dive into trying to get the skunks going, but Studios kind of in a little bit of a desperate mode, as he might end up losing this mill if he's not too careful. He is going to go ahead and try and dive on into this attack, as we are now finally seeing the skunks coming into play on Studios' end, but the snakes are coming in also. I think the fact that the fact that Legoman was able to get into his tier 2 a little bit earlier is really coming into dividends, as now Legoman's gonna go ahead and buy a mill to kind of use it for taking purposes, as the moles are starting to come in. And right now, it seems like both these players are kind of at a stalemate as the mill does end up going down. No more taking for them, and it looks like that Studios is finally getting a little bit of an advantage. We're seeing the skunks being a bit too much here for Legoman, who does decide to fall back. So Studios may have lost quite a bit of farms in that exchange, but it could have gotten a lot worse than what it could have been. So Studios is going to go ahead and start selling off some of the pigeons and get a lot more squirrels as well. He's going to leave one pigeon warren out, ready to go. And I would imagine he would try and go ahead and get into more tier 2, getting into snakes this time. As we now pass the 5-minute mark, and Studios is going to have to try and build out one of his older farms on his second unit. And here comes Legoman, getting ready to go ahead and start tagging in some of these pigs. But Studios is not going to have any of it, and the second battle looks like it's going to start. But it looks like Legoman is not going to go ahead and commit to a fight just yet. He might be trying to wait for his units to go ahead and fully heal up. Meanwhile, over on the Studios end, he's just basically kind of a little bit of a defensive mode as he does decide to go ahead and scout. He is going to go ahead and get by the army. But, of course, with the fact of how close Legoman is, he's going to go ahead and get the quick poke in. And right now, he's going to lose quite a couple of units before the exchange really truly happens. But Legoman's going to go ahead and buy that mill once again. Gonna go ahead and get started on trying to get this battle going. He does have his tier 2 out. And right now, both of these players are just kind of dancing around a little bit, just trying to wait to have all of their units fully up. Studios doesn't look like he's gonna put in some more moles here for an attack, and it looks like that we're gonna get the skunk poking, and the wolf is gonna come into play too. So now the battle's gonna commence. I think that wolf's gonna be a huge deal, but I don't think it's gonna. Is it gonna matter? But yeah, right now, it looks like that Studios might not be able to have enough to hold this, as all the units go down, and Legoman has all the advantages in the world to go ahead and take this. He may end up getting this series, and that is going to be the case as Legoman is able to take it 3-1. GG's all around.